23. And let me get my equipment squared away here. Okay, so another day, huh? Here we are in the year of recompenses, and everything is really falling apart around the world, you might say, or there's so many events happening. It's like crazy to keep up with it. I mean, I don't think I kept up with it today. I tried, but I didn't, I don't think I'm getting all the news. I have to expand my sources, which I intend to do. But I got so much news. Gosh. The Hurricane Hillary was substantial flooding. I did see some cars getting washed away in California. Las Vegas didn't shut down or anything. Death Valley got hit with a lot of floods. It was a bad flood. It was an 80 or 81 year record there for California for water that they took. The winds were, as predicted, it weren't substantial. But again, remember with hurricanes, the numbers like category 2, 3, and so forth, they go up to 5, are based on the wind speed, not the water. So you could have a tropical storm that dumps a bunch of water. In Mecca, which is in the desert in Saudi Arabia, they have flooding. See, it's the continuing whirlwind of the Lord shall fall on the head of the wicked until it accomplishes what Jehovah wants. Jehovah is in the process of letting the nations know he is Jehovah. Okay? That's what you're seeing. Okay? Now, move my chair. Okay, so that's what's happening. All right, let's do our praise and we'll move forward. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay, let me jump into the live stream chat. That's the way to say it, live stream chat. Real quick, and do a little bit of housekeeping, and then we're going to move forward. Okay, I got sound and picture. Sound seems to be rather substantial, so I'll put some things up in the chat real quick. The air conditioner feels good. I was sitting outside trying to do some chores and get ready for the broadcast. The heat, but it wasn't so bad today. It was better in the morning. It was better than most days in the last 30 or 40 days. It's not nice out. It's hot, sticky. Okie dokie. Looks like we're good. I'm going to get a little shot of water here, keep my hydration going. On the 18th, okay, first a couple of housekeeping type things. If you really want to get everything that's going on, you should subscribe to my Telegram. Of course, it's free. The app is free. It's free, free, free. It's free on top of free, with free, over free. Okay. Telegram does ask people. Now, I have several Telegram channels. I have one for spiritual warfare, I have one that's Bible studies, and I have one that's the general channel, and that's the one that gets updated like a good 5 times a day, if not 7. It has tremendously huge amounts of news. Okay? End times oriented. And I have things that I mentioned there that I don't put on the other social media places like Twitter and YouTube. So if you really want to get the scoop, you should go there, and it's free. Now, they require people to put a phone number in, okay, when they require people to put a phone number in when they sign up. Now, I've been there for several years. They have over 700 million members or subscribers. I have never heard of anybody having any trouble with the phone numbers. I have never had. I have never heard of them selling, giving away the phone numbers. These people are running an encrypted platform. So what you put up there doesn't get spidered by the search engines and put in the general internet. They don't spider encryption because it would come up gobbledygook, okay? I have never had a problem. I've never known anybody to have a problem. I would not be hesitant to put a phone number up there, okay? If you really worry, there's a place called Text Now. 2 words, Text Now. It's free. It's 100% free. They will give you a phone number that you can use to sign up with Telegram, okay? All free. So Text Now is free, Telegram is free. So if you're really upset, you don't want to use your phone number, or you could put your cell phone number up there, of course. You could try Text Now, and I understand it works without any hesitation. I just gave my regular phone number. I'm not worried about it, okay? You're going to get no censorship there, 0 censorship, okay? And you're going to get all the information, not just in the morning, you're going to get it all day during the day. So some people like to go, I've got under 400 members there, 365, I think. And people go in all times during the day. Sometimes there's 10 or 12 people, sometimes 25, rarely more than 25 at the same time. I don't get to know how many views were on all the things I have on my Telegram. They don't tell you that. But they tell you how many people are online. Okay? And that's kind of how it works. All right? Which is probably the way YouTube works. So, you know. I can't emphasize it enough. The next thing, if there's several of you that are in a group and you want to run a question and answers meeting with me, we can do that. We can do it with a telephone call, and you probably have a speaker, and I have the ability to call Canada and America for free by telephone, using Skype telephone, okay? The quality of the call is usually very, very good, usually. If you got bad internet connectivity, well, then that's going to be a problem. But if your internet connectivity is good, it's going to be really good, okay? If you're not in Canada or in America, then I can do this with you using Skype, which would mean somebody at your end would have to get an account at Skype, and then I would make a Skype call, Skype to Skype, All the, this is all free to you, right? And then we could do it on Skype, okay? So if you have a small group of a few people and you want to have a Q&A with me or ask me things, I'll be happy to do it. The caveat to this is I really want to know who you are. Okay, I don't want to get it set up by false believers. So if I happen to know who you are, I'll do it, and you can test me to see if I know who you are, and I'll do that. Okay. Now, that's we have to figure out a time and all that. So I offer that to you guys because things are getting pretty critical. All right. It would have to be after the broadcast sometime, but before my evening, because I burn out in the evening. So it would have to be the Israel time in the afternoon. And I usually got plenty of energy, but I think maybe 45 minutes or pushing an hour maybe would be appropriate. I don't think I got the oomph to do after the morning preparation and the broadcast and then get on for 2 hours. It may wear me out. And I don't like to do Bible work when I'm worn out because that's when you make mistakes. Once I was taking skiing lessons when I was in the world at Lake Tahoe. I used to get skiing lessons when I was in the world, and I had a really nice instructor, and I was in Lake Tahoe doing downhill skiing, and I think I used this guy more than one day, and I was getting tired, and he stopped me and he said to me, "Listen, we'll pick it up again tomorrow, but when people get tired, that's when they make mistakes and get hurt. I just want to tell you that. I'll stay with you till the sun's gone, but this is when people make mistakes, right?" So I listened to him, and everything was fine. He came back the next day. I think we did it again. I took cross-country skiing lessons. It helped. I was at my best. I was maybe medium level downhill skier. Cross-country is not much of a challenge, if anything. It's pretty quiet and peaceful. It's not a big deal. You don't need to worry about cross-country, okay? It's pretty simple to get that down, okay? But if I tried to do advanced slopes, I probably would have, had a really bad time, But I'm too old to do any skiing right now. I don't want to see what happens when I fall, and you're always going to fall sooner or later, Okay, so that was the housekeeping. So we had an event on August 18th, which today's the 22nd. It's like 4 days ago. And the event took place in the Persian Gulf around the Straits of Hormuz, which is where Iran is, Iranian waters over there, near Iranian waters. There were 2 American warships there to stop Iran from attacking or boarding and taking over merchant marine vessels of their choosing, which they've done many times. So Iran doesn't want the warships there, obviously, because they want to continue hijacking vessels, right? They can hold the crew for ransom, they could release the crew, they can, they generally get the boat to allow them to board, and then they take the boat over and they have the captain, the pilot rather, drive it to a port in Iran. Then they search the vessel and they decide what they want to do, depending on the flag of the vessel, where the crew is from, and so forth, okay? So they could release the crew, they could keep the crew, they could keep them and then release them, they could hold them for ransom, they could steal the boat. I don't know what they're going to do with it, but They could use it for parts and scrap minimally. They can sell the load, confiscate the load, whatever it is, keep it for Iran or sell it, whatever. Or just let everybody go. They've done that too. They let the load, the ship, and the crew go. This, if it's done enough, the insurance companies that insure merchant marine vessels, the load on the vessel, the cargo, and the crew are going to cancel the insurance in the Persian Gulf area because, these boats are worth, an old, boat might be worth 10, 20 million dollars. A new one may be worth 80, $100 million. The load could be anything. It could be more than that, or it could be millions of dollars, or whatever, right? So, if it starts happening 2-3 times a week, and within a month or so, the insurance company's either going to raise the rates astronomically, which might be their first knee-jerk reaction, or cancel the insurance and say it's not worth it. They could raise the rates to such a level that it would be tantamount to canceling it because it would just ruin their profits. Of course, Iran's going to be selective as to who they harass. So it's going to depend on who owns the boat, where it's flagged, who's behind the ownership, and all this stuff, right? So the Americans decided they don't like this, which is rather obvious, right? So they go with 2 warships. One was, I believe, a destroyer, and the other one was one of those pseudo-aircraft carriers, like, a landing ship where they put about 1,500 to 2,500 Marines on the boat and Expeditionary Force Marines, I think. And it can carry several helicopters and several vertical takeoff planes. It could also carry tanks, armored personnel carriers, and mobile artillery and things like this, right? They're not the same as a regular aircraft carrier. America has a bunch of these. They're dangerous, they're potent, but they don't run around with, 80 or 90, fighter aircraft, bombers, AWACS, refueling tankers and the like, okay? It's nothing like a real aircraft carrier. It is actually in the same genre, but... So they're patrolling in the Persian Gulf, so you have this so-called landing ship, helo aircraft carrier, with vertical takeoff planes. Usually it's a small amount of aircraft they can carry, maybe a total of 15 or 20. And, but it's plenty lethal. And it had I believe it was a destroyer with them, probably an Arleigh Burke. Arleigh Burke class destroyers are very dangerous to the enemies of America. They're equipped to do all kinds of things. They hunt submarines. They can get submarines with depth charges, and they have missiles that go under the water and hit submarines. They have, things they could drop in the water that detect submarines quite well. They have a lot of anti-aircraft defenses of various sorts. They have usually 2 5-inch guns, which are very dangerous. They're computer radar controlled, automatic, and they fire rounds. I don't remember what I used to know. I'm guessing 4 or 5 rounds a minute with deadly accuracy. And a 5-inch gun is quite dangerous, especially to a naval vessel. It's even dangerous to a land target, but it's not like an 8-inch gun, or larger. But it's still dangerous, And these things, and then they launch missiles. They have usually about 16 missile tubes. They can have more. They have electronic counter warfare measures. They could shoot, you know, distracting targets. Like if they're afraid of torpedo attacks, there's things they could put in the water that are decoys to lure the torpedo towards them. They can put, I forgot what they call it, strafe or flak, or, you know, not flak. They can shoot things up in the air that are very hot and will attract the missile. So the missile hits them and explodes, not the boat. They can take down planes, drones. They have 2 phalanx guns, 20 millimeter Gatling guns that can put out about 3,000 or more rounds a minute. And they could shoot up as high as 25,000 feet, and drones don't go anywhere near that high. And they can be used against missiles. They can be used against helicopters, rockets, I think artillery shells, and of course drones. They shoot torpedoes. I mean, these things are just death-making machines. And they're sort of not very stealthy, a little stealthy, and stuff like that. So what did Iran decide to do? They decided to harass these 2 American warships by swarm attacking them, although they didn't really attack, they were harassed. They deployed a number of go-fast boats. Now, the Iranian go-fast boats are rather dangerous. And they have better than 1,500 of them. That's a lot. So I don't know how many go-fast boats they threw at this mini flotilla of 2 American warships, but it was enough to harass them. Now, it might have just been 8 or 10. And they also flew drones overhead. These 2 warships had 2 helicopters flying overhead all the time. They usually would, on this landing carrier, they would usually have more than 2 helicopters, and they could easily land one helicopter, have another one take its place, refuel, re-equip the helicopter, and, you know, get it ready to go up, and they could rotate them. And the helicopters were basically flying overhead near the warships as a means of protecting them. Well, helicopters usually have a powerful gun, something like a phalanx, probably a 20 millimeter, that probably has several thousand rounds of ammo in there, you know, 2,000 or 1,000, I mean, a lot of ammo they can put in a helicopter. They don't bother with the 50 cals that much. And the helicopter would normally have capability of launching missiles and rockets, not bombs and things like that. The helicopter is a dangerous weapon, but it's vulnerable. So they start buzzing the warships with drones. I don't know how many drones. It might have been 6, 10, 15. I don't know. It might have been 30. I don't know. And the go-fast boats. Now, these soldiers or sailors on the Iranian vessels are jihadists in a sense. Okay, they're militaries, they're not really jihadists, but they will go and deploy on a suicide mission. Now, this is not a new theme. In World War II, Nazi Germany didn't deploy such tactics ever. I don't think it was ever recorded. The Japanese did it with regularity with pilots, and they called them kamikaze pilots. They took a propeller plane, which was the genre back then, and they put a big bomb in the plane, big, like probably 1,000 or 2,000 pounds or something. And the idea was for the plane to fly into the naval vessel and destroy it. Now, naval vessels back then, many of them had no armor, like the tin can destroyers America churned out had 1/4-inch steel plate. I mean, it was an easy target to sink. If the kamikaze hit it, it would be over. You'd have secondary explosions from the ammo and the fuel, and it would be pretty much the boat. The boat may survive, but it would have been severely damaged. I mean, there were times when they got hit and they put the fire out and they put patches on the side of the boat, and some guys probably got killed and they made it, and the boat may have been able to be operating. Other times they hit the rudder, you couldn't steer the boat. Other times the fires would destroy the boat, kill people, and they'd sink. It varied. Aircraft carriers, destroyers, battleships back then they had, and heavy cruisers and stuff would have up to 16 inches of armor. So if the plane hit the boat on the sides, the body of the boat, it probably didn't accomplish much damage. But if they hit the deck of the boat, which in those days the decks were mostly made out of wood, even battleship decks were wood, the damage would be devastating. And if they hit an aircraft carrier on the deck, it would probably destroy the other planes on the deck, ruin the landing and takeoff capability of an aircraft carrier, or at least hinder it severely. And they carried spare wood, so they would rip the wood out and put more wood in after they controlled any fires and continue. There were other things that were close to this. The Italians came up with a method of having a small boat, like more like a jet ski or something, or a little rowboat with a motor, a real tiny little thing. And one or two of these commandos would ride on the thing, and it was basically a torpedo, in essence, or a big bomb that would have an impact detonation, and they would put this thing in the water probably some miles away from the target vessel, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 miles or something. And it had not a lot of fuel, but it went fast. And it was a nearly impossible target for them to hit back then because it was so small. And the guys riding the bomb had scuba gear on with tanks. They would drive the bomb very close to the boat where the boat would not get out of the way. It would be too close. Like, what am I talking about? Maybe 300-400 yards or something like that. And then they would lock the control of the boat and aim it right at the big target vessel, and they would jump off in the water, and they would go, of course, below the surface and try to make it back to wherever they were launched from. And then the boat would hit the target vessel and cause a big impact explosion. It was like a torpedo hit, so it could cause a lot of damage or not. What the Americans had that was similar in a way, kind of roughly, but not really, is they had torpedo planes, which would, propeller planes, and they carried one torpedo under the fuselage of the plane, under the body of the plane, and the aircraft would approach the target vessel, and they would get low in the water. Now, the target vessel would be shooting all their ordnance at this plane, so it was a very dangerous thing. And they got, close enough to the plane so when they released the torpedo, it would be so close the boat couldn't veer and get out of the way, and then they would immediately, as soon as they released the torpedo, they would veer off to the side and start getting out of there, climbing altitude and so forth. Some of them got shot down, a lot of them didn't. It was a dangerous job, but I don't know how close they got. Maybe they got a half a mile, 2 miles. Torpedoes then ran at 60 miles an hour. Okay, an hour has 60 minutes, so it took a minute to go a mile, and they probably had to get closer than that to make sure the boat didn't veer out of the way. Okay, so they were probably a quarter or a half a mile away from the boat when they veered off, probably a quarter mile. And they sank a lot of naval vessels with that. But what the Iranians have, these go-fast boats are probably anywhere from 50 to 80 or 90 feet long. They got all different kinds, okay? They're not really military vessels. They're adapted. They'll now they're all equipped differently with different weapons. They're all mishmash, hodgepodge, right? Some of them have a torpedo on the left and the right side of the boat. The torpedoes are mounted on the deck. This is very similar to the American World War II PT boats had these. And the way they aimed the torpedo was they pointed the boat at the target vessel. The torpedo would be flung in a direct straight line off the deck of the boat. Remember, decks of boats get narrower as you go to the front. So they would have some type of explosive force. It was compressed air, or it was an explosive, and it would hurl the torpedo off out to the front in a direct path towards the target vessel. And then the PT boat would again have to get pretty close, but it was a small, agile target, and missiles were not being used, and they didn't really have radar-controlled guns and that kind of thing. So it would veer away after they fired the torpedo, and it would sink the vessels. And the PT boats moved pretty fast. They probably went about 45 miles an hour or something. They were pretty big. They were like about 90 feet, I think, and they had kitchens inside. Guys would have bunks and sleep there. They had toilets. I think if they wanted a shower, they probably just went overboard, took a saltwater dip for a minute, and came back to the boat, They cooked there, and they had communications, and they were more sophisticated than the Iranian boats, okay? The Iranian boats will have these immature torpedo launching capabilities, but it's still dangerous. They also, if you guys wouldn't mind praying, my voice is getting scratchy. I don't know why. Would you please pray for my voice to heal up? Okay, thank you. Speaking of prayers, do we have prayer requests? Let's take a moment and check before I forget. I hate when I forget about a prayer request. We prayed for the dog Trixie the other day, and the dog got healed real quick. Okay? So prayer works. So these, and that's a big thing what we do. Okay? So what we would do, what they do is they could launch torpedoes. Then they put guns on these go-fast boats. Usually it's a 50 caliber machine gun mounted, rigidly fixed into the boat. Now remember, they're predominantly threatening, not American warships with this, okay? Then they sometimes have a shoulder-fired missile, or they might have AK-47, RPGs, which they make armor-piercing versions, and how effective that would be against the ship depends on the ship, but minimally effective, but it could cause fires and problems to the ship. If they hit the conning tower, on an aircraft carrier, they got a big tower where they got 2, 3, 4 levels that they conduct the flights from. If they hit that, it would be pretty devastating, I think. But if they hit the side of the boat, not so much. If they hit the planes on the boat, which would be a tough shot, because of the angles, the boat's down lower than the aircraft carrier. They got to come up and hit a plane on the deck. Man, it's hard to see. But it's got a threat level. Some of them have a missile on there of some sort. They're not they're not uniform. It's a hodgepodge. They're all kind of different, So these things, if you were to send, so you got 2 American war vessels which have these phalanx guns. They have missiles. They have air defense missiles. They have 5-inch guns. They probably have 50 caliber machine guns they could set up on a tripod. It's very easy to kill a go-fast boat. One good strafe with a machine gun, and several rounds hit the boat. It's most likely that's curtains for the boat. It'll be on fire, taking water, breaking up. It's going to be curtains. Okay. You hit it with a 20-millimeter gun, like a phalanx. It's going to put 8 or 10 rounds in the thing. It's going to break up. You won't have a boat. Drones are low-speed things, and they're pretty easy to kill. But the swarm attack means that you send a lot of boats and a lot of drones after the Navy ships of America. And you overwhelm their defenses, the hope being 1 or 2 of the go-fast boats gets a torpedo or an RPG or a missile or a rocket in and hits the boat. Or the drones, you put enough drones in the sky that there's probably going to have capability to shoot missiles and or suicide drones that crash into the boat and explode. So the idea is to send enough of them to overwhelm the defenses of the Navy vessel. So I think they would have at least had a dozen go-fast boats and probably at least that many drones. And I'm not even sure that would have overwhelmed the defenses of the Navy vessels, because you had 2 of them. But I think the Americans sort of backed away, and it was a warning. They said, if you go into Iranian water space, we're going to have to attack you. Now, Iran has a handful of Navy vessels. They're not going to be idiotic enough to send one of their destroyers after American destroyers a boat out of the water. So their idea is to overload the defenses of the American naval vessels. So the defense, the counter that America will have to take on this is to increase the number of Navy vessels that it deploys in the Persian Gulf. So that they could get up to 6 or 8 vessels. Let's say they get 6 vessels, right? 2 of them can be focused on just the drones. 2 of them could just be focused on the go-fast boats, and the other 2 are there to pick up the overflow and add into the fight as best they can. They could also go to 8 boats, and then you could have 4 going after go-fast and 4 going after drones. See, so the way they got to handle the swarm attack is to up the numbers. Now, the same thing applies to the Iranians. So what if they send, 40 go-fast boats and 50 drones, or 25 or 30 drones? What happens then? Well, what the Iranians would hope for is to have some breakthroughs and hit the American vessels. And then if they got some good results, disabling and destroying American vessels, they would send another wave out. The same thing, more go-fast boats, more drones. And then they could do a third wave, and that would, probably sink all or most of the American vessels and disable them and stuff like that. So it's a game of numbers, and Iran's playing a numbers game, and the counter move is for America to play the same numbers game. Will America back down? No. They're not going to back down. They know that the threat to the shipping in the Persian Gulf is too severe and will spike oil prices to the point of economically crippling the world. So they'll just put more naval vessels out there. The other thing they can do is have Navy fighter planes on standby. See, when you had two ships, you had two helicopters in the air, right? So let's say they had 8 ships, and well, now they have 8 helicopters in the air. But the helicopters are pretty vulnerable, so I don't know if that's a great idea. But they might do that. The stuff they throw out is called chaff, that's the word. Chaff is like in an aircraft helicopter plane. It's, phosphorus or magnesium things that eject out from the plane in a burst pattern of several of them. And they're very hot. So a lot of the missiles attempting to hit an aircraft seek the engine. So the missile is trying to hit, this is a smart missile, it's trying to hit the hottest part of the plane, which is the motor, which definitely is the end of the plane, right? So that's when you send the chaff out, it's extremely hot, and the missiles will veer off, hit the chaff, and explode. Helicopters use that as well as planes. Of course, they got a limited supply of this stuff. If there's 30 drones, they don't have, I don't think they have 30 doses of this. They might have 4, 5, 6, something like that. This is going to cause America to have to deploy more ships into the Persian Gulf. But they can have planes stationed nearby. Where, I don't know. That's a good question. If they could, they might make an air base in Iraq or Syria. And then the planes go up, supersonic. We're going, 1,200, 1,400 miles an hour. They can get to where the fight is in, minutes, not hours, but it might take 15 minutes, or it might take 20, 30 minutes, so it's still dangerous. You can't realistically have planes hovering around the ships all the time because of refueling issues. So they're not going to have 4 fighter jets or 8 fighter jets just flying around all day and all night. The beauty of an aircraft carrier is it could launch, 2 or 3 or whatever jets, have them fly perimeters around the boats, and then, at low speed, and then when they run out of fuel, they come back to the boat, but before they come back, 2 or 4 new fighter jets will be launched with full tanks of fuel, and then they'll come back to the boat. And they can run it like that. They could also keep refueling tankers in the air and things like this. This wasn't done. It might get done. I don't know. Submarines aren't going to be of much help. Submarines are not going to be that useful attacking drones. And attacking these very agile, fast, go-fast boats that don't sit in the water very deep. They might sit, they might sit 10 feet in the water, which is plenty for a torpedo, but they may not. I don't know. They probably sit deep enough. So they could torpedo attack these boats too, but I don't think they'll have a high success rate with that. This is going to lead to trouble. The Iranians, if they attack American Navy vessels and kill a couple hundred guys, or if they hit one of these troop carrier aircraft type vessels, aircraft carrier vessels, they could kill thousands of people. America's not going to just sit still and suck it up. I think Congress would unleash America at Iran with war if that happened. Maybe not, but I'd give it a 90% chance. America does not have a lot of fear of fighting Iran. I don't think you're going to see China and Russia join in the fracas. I could be wrong. Russia has a habit of defending their allies for real. Putin wants his allies to know that he stands up for them. By the way, speaking of allies, Belarus is a strong ally of Putin, and the Americans have been noticing things in Belarus that they don't like, and they ordered all the Americans in Belarus, not the military, the others, to get out of Belarus immediately. So it's getting close, okay? If this thing boils down to an actual showdown, Iran is probably going to disable, hurt, or sink several Navy ships. Eventually the Navy is going to send 25 fighter jets, or the Army or the Air Force, to go to Iran and attack all the places where they're storing these go-fast boats and the drones. They got to store them someplace. And there's got to be multiple locations. And you can't store the go-fast boats 200-300 miles inland because they're worthless. It take you a long time to get them in the water. So they're going to be at the water's edge someplace, and they'll get destroyed. They'll destroy the drone factories, the drone storage facilities. Before they do that, they'll take out Iranian radar. And I don't know what in the world Iran's going to do about them. Nothing. What can they do? The Iranians have no capability to do anything about that. I don't know what the heck they're going to do. They're going to die. They'll keep continuing the drone attacks and the go-fast boat attacks as long as they can. And that's why it would be essential to destroy as much of this equipment as they can on land. Now, that might be America's idea of the end of it, okay? And what would Iran do then if you disabled 75% of their go-fast boats and their drones? What would they do? America would not be shy about this because the drones are going to enemies of America like Russia, China. So it would be a nice thing in the eyes of the American Pentagon to destroy these drone production and storage facilities. Also, there's got to be facilities where they control the drones. I have no idea. I could not begin to tell you what Iran could do to retaliate against America. I don't know how they could. Could they try to come into Iraq? with a force of 100, 150,000, 200,000 Iranian soldiers with armor and attack all the American forces in Iraq and Syria and kill them. Yeah. If they came up with numbers like that, would it work? It would probably kill many Americans, let's put it that way. Would America have a lot of warning that this was happening? Oh, immense. Would America attack these convoys in Iraq as soon as they saw them entering Iraq? Yep. How would they do it? B-1s, B-2s, F-22s, F-16s, F-35s, surface-to-surface missiles, mobile artillery, and all kinds of other things. So all America has to worry about doing is deploying their aircraft to that theater before the Iranians arrive, which is a piece of cake. Now, Iran's going to have a ground convoy because they got to come with tanks, mobile artillery, armored personnel carrier, trucks with supplies, fuel tankers, food, all communications, missiles, rockets, anti-aircraft, all kinds of stuff. So it's not going to be, that quick moving. Could Iran do a big parachute drop of soldiers into Iraq? Nah, that's not going to work. That wouldn't work. They'd lose their soldiers, and they need to have armor. So could I imagine Iran dropping 100 tanks or something on parachutes? I mean, I'd be shocked if that happened. I don't think Iran could do anything. Okay, and like I told you for a long time, Iran's role in this thing, other than making drones and ammunition, is to mess the economy of the world up. If a war breaks out between Russia and NATO and the Pacific, and they would mess that up by shutting the Persian Gulf, and if they could get to the Red Sea, and stopping the flow of oil. From who? Well, from the UAE, Qatar or Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Saudi Arabia, Jordan. Would all these countries just willfully cooperate with Iran and just stop the flow of oil, or just reduce the amount of oil they're going to ship, cut it down by millions of barrels a day, causing huge price spikes? Nah, Iran's not going to want that. That's not enough. That's going to cause, oil to go up $10, $20, $30 a barrel. They want to see oil at $200 a barrel to break Europe. That's what they want. Can they do it? If they shut the Persian Gulf quickly, they can do it. So that's what America is standing around, is sending naval ships there for, to make sure this does not happen. Okay? I gotta take a break for a minute or two, and I'll be right back, and we'll continue. A lot more to cover. All right, Chief. Sorry guys, I went out there and my wife's running the training meeting for the patches, and they had all these questions about what kind of results I was getting. Whoops. And I don't have enough room here. So I had to answer some questions. Okay. Back to the war scenario. So, look, let me lay it out really blunt, okay? America, I put these sunglasses on for cutting the glare because I'm in front of screens so much. Even though that screen is a few feet away from me that I'm doing the broadcast on, it gives me glare. So I use these to cut the glare. They're polarized, and it's gentle on my eyes. I like it. So I don't know what, it makes my eyes feel better, more relaxed. So I put them on. Well, it's not rocket science. Feels better to do it. It's not awful. Every day, America's dumping more and more troops into Iraq to cover the border between Iraq and Syria. For Iran to get to Syria, it pretty much needs to go by land into Iraq and then into Syria. Every day, America is dumping more troops and equipment into Iraq and Syria. Syria is so confusing right now. I am having trouble. We attacked Syria last night during the night. We hit Damascus. There was some mysterious, unscheduled flights of aircraft from Iran, cargo planes, landing in Syria near Damascus. So 2 + 2 = 4. We assume it's weapons to kill Israel with. What else? Are they bringing fishing equipment in? Or are they bringing motorcycles in, or cars, or, iPads? Come on, it's missiles and rockets and things like that. Drones or whatever. So we attacked last night. One Syrian soldier got killed. They might have been wounded. And I'm sure we had got the target. This is breaking news. It's a few hours old because what time is it? It's almost 11 o'clock. So is it that late already? Yeah. I don't know what we attacked with. The Syrians' version of the story is that we attacked with missiles from the Golan Heights. That would be surface to surface, which is not common. And that could be because the Russians have aircraft in Syria now, and we're afraid if they got aircraft, they got air defenses, and we didn't want to jeopardize any of our F-16s. I doubt we used F-35s. But actually we did. We used surface-to-surface missiles, and it hit the target. So the Damascus region was attacked last night by Israel. Okay, so America is dead bent on stopping Iran from getting into Syria. So they have troops that they're adding to, what I'm seeing, by the day. Now it's troops, it's missile launchers, it's tanks, mobile artillery, armored personnel carriers, all sorts of equipment. Okay? And they're Americans fortifying the border between Iraq and Syria so that the Iranians can't come in. So this attack on the naval vessel on the 18th could have been a result of America's buildup in Iraq and Syria. Okay? America, for my water, where did it go? Oh, there it is. America doesn't seem to have any idea of backing out. when we read Jeremiah 50:51, we realize that the daughter of Babylon, America, does some bad things to Israel. We've covered that a number of times, but I'll cover the scriptures for you. Jeremiah 51:24, I will read. Please keep praying for my throat to heal up. It's a little scratchy or something. And I will render unto Babel. You see, Babylon is a non-existent word in the Bible. It's Babel. It means confusion. It applies to the old Babel and the new one, daughter of Babel. And I will render unto Babel and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea. That's Chaldea is, or the Chaldeans were the soothsayers, witches, if you will, in the old Babylon. But it applies to the new one because there's a lot of witchcraft emanating in America, as you know. All their evil that they have done in Zion, in your sight, saith the Lord. So I'll read it again. And I will render unto Babel and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea, which is the daughter of Babylon, America, all their evil that they have done in Zion in your sight. So that's in the sight of the generation that's going to be alive at this time. Saith Jehovah. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith Jehovah, which destroyeth all the earth, and I will stretch out my hand upon thee and roll thee down from the rocks, and will make thee a burnt mountain. Now some are going to say it's nuclear war. I don't think so. If they had the capability to conduct nuclear wars for real, they would have done it already, I think. And the nations don't behave correctly if they, the way NATO's treating Russia. Why would they do that if Russia had 1,000 nuclear warheads they can wipe out Europe with and say, anyway, it's hard for me to understand that. I don't think it's real. I don't think it's a real threat. Okay, so the destruction will be very, very bad. So it appears America does bad things to Israel. Now, troops in Iraq and Syria, which both of those are greater Israel to the west of the Euphrates River, are greater Israel, and America's stationing a lot of troops in there now. So I don't know what's up with that. Now, Turkey's in Syria, up in the northeast where the oil refineries are, attacking the Kurds, and the Kurds are fighting back, and ISIS is in there fighting. Russia is fighting against ISIS forces and other forces that are trying to overthrow the Assad regime on a daily basis. Hezbollah is there. The IRGC from Iran is there. And I really don't, and then there's American coalition forces there, which could be UK and other countries. And I really don't know who the heck else is there. There's probably others there too. So it's a regular mishmash, what's going on in Syria. You need a scorecard, to understand what's going on. It used to be, I don't know, it probably still is, when you went to see a Broadway play, they gave you a little booklet. People kept them as souvenirs, and it would tell you what's going on with the play. And you need something like that now to understand what's going on over there. There's so much at the same time. Different forces fighting different forces. So Turkey's opposing Russia at this point, and Turkey's opposing other people. It's just weird. India's backing Armenia against Azerbaijan, and Azerbaijan's an ally of Israel, which Israel was backing. That's interesting. Turkey controls the Bosphorus Straits, which allows the Russians to go from the Black Sea to the Mediterranean, which is rather essential military strategy-wise for Russia to have control of that pincher point to go in and out of the Black Sea. Turkey has it. under their control, and it's easy as pie to stop ships from going through. It's very narrow. You can see across it. An artillery piece would do it. You know, the Russian ships aren't going to be moving so fast. A manual artillery piece, you know, a 155 millimeter gun, right, can be aimed manually at a 250 to 400 foot Russian warship from what, 2 miles away or something like that. Boom, boom, boom. Man, the ship's underwater pretty quick. I mean, they wouldn't do it that way. They would probably put a lot of artillery out, you know, at different locations, perhaps sheltered to some extent, mobile artillery, or use rockets and missiles, or use aircraft. Look, the Russian ships don't have a chance. They don't have a 1 in 10 chance of passing the Bosphorus Straits as long as Turkey is flourishing. If they destroy Turkey, yeah, they do. Will Turkey leave NATO and go to Russia? It's definitely a possibility. Turkey's not getting along with NATO. They're stopping Sweden from joining NATO now, something to do with the burning of the Quran in the streets of Sweden. They also allow the Bible to be burned and other things. The Muslim states are threatening to destroy the nations that allow the burning of the Quran now too, and make them pay and stuff like that. So it's so crazy. Okay? It's unbelievable. So if war breaks out in Europe, which it will, is America going to let Iran run the Persian Gulf and run the oil prices up? No, that's why they're putting more ships there. And they're just going to put more in because that's the defense. And the message that Iran needs to realize, if they got their heads screwed on straight, is you might take out a few American warships, but their aircraft are going to bomb Iran. And that's it. Will America invade Iran? I do not see America wanting to do that. I don't imagine they will. Because if they invade it, then they're going to need 100,000 minimum troops to occupy the place. And America's not about to do that. It doesn't. All it wants to do is disable Iran's military capability to control the Persian Gulf, spike oil prices, and they don't want them invading the other Middle East countries. Look, they'll go to Iraq, they'll go to Syria, then they'll attack Jordan. Then they might attack Saudi Arabia and try to take the oil over and stuff like that. And that's the fear. Give me a second, guys. My wife's got a big meeting going over there. Okay. Uh, so we're getting so close to the war breaking out. Really close. And it's not going to take much longer. It really isn't. What I discern Jehovah's doing is he's be giving some treats to the dogs here. He's throwing the world into complete confusion. And that's going to enable Israel to make its move. To get rid of the internal yoke, which is the government of Israel. Let me check the chat real quick. I don't know what somebody posted that prayers are our salvation. I'm sorry, I'm a bit confused. I don't understand. I'd love to help you, but I don't understand the confusion. We also have spiritual warfare. These signs shall follow them that believe in my name, they shall cast out devils. That's in the scriptures. Mark 16. So are you taking that into account too? The church world talks about prayer warriors. There is a heavy duty place for prayer. We do prayer here all the time. I'm actually contemplating starting a Twitter posting where we're offering prayer to people, and Telegram too. So yeah, I mean, I'm big on prayer, but I'm also big on spiritual warfare. Scripture says we're not ignorant of Satan's devices, yet the church world seems to be ignorant of Satan's devices. If they weren't, they'd be demon tossing the leaders of their countries whenever they did things they didn't like. So China every day is surrounding Taiwan with naval vessels and aircraft flying overhead, violating their airspace and things like that. Russia and China have naval fleets that are joint, both China and Russia, harassing Japan, South Korea. North Korea is harassing South Korea by the week or the day even, with missile shoots, and Japan too. That's going to blow. Australia's got their biggest warship by the Philippines now. Australia's going to get into this fight. If Australia's in the fight, New Zealand got to go in, right? Guam will be in the fight. Philippines, Australia, Japan, Taiwan, South Korea. My theory on how this is going to develop is pretty interesting. And it's based on Bible prophecy with the current events. Jeremiah 30 talks about the birth pangs and the birth of the nation of the day. And verse 11 reads like this: For I am with thee, saith Jehovah, chief no more, to save thee, speaking of Israel. Though I make a full end of all nations whither I have scattered thee, yet will I not make a full end of thee, but I will correct thee in measure. Correct thee is, the word is 3256 yasar. It means to chasten, to discipline, to instruct, to admonish. It doesn't mean destroy. You chasten a kid, you give him a spank in the butt, and then he straightens out and doesn't do it again. That's what the correct is: put Israel back on line, and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. He says here he's going to destroy the word for full. Stop it, chief, no more. It's kala, kaf lamed hey in Hebrew. It means a complete termination, a full end, complete destruction, consumption, annihilation. Okay, let's use the word annihilation or a full destruction. I will make a full destruction or annihilation of all the nations whither I have scattered thee. That's probably 100, 150 nations. It's everything from Canada to Argentina has had Jews in it, including the Caribbean island nations. Every country in Europe, most of the Middle East, parts of Africa, parts of Asia. They're all going to be destroyed, and this is associated in Jeremiah 30 with the birth pangs. Okay? Let's go back one verse on top of it, Jeremiah 30, verse 10. Therefore fear thou not, O my servant Yaakov, saith Jehovah, neither be dismayed, O Israel. For lo, I will save thee from afar, that's the second Exodus, and thy seed from the land of their captivity. Now, he has to get them out of there where they're in captivity, and the nations that they're in captivity are going to be destroyed. So there's a good chance he's going to get them out of there before they get destroyed. Duh. And Yaakov, Jacob, shall return, second Exodus, shall be in rest and be in quiet, and none shall make him afraid. For I am with thee, saith Jehovah, to save thee, though I make a full end of all nations whither I have scattered thee. See? There's not one church-oriented preacher on the internet that I have ever seen ever talk about this. Never. But it's in your Bible. I did not sneak into your house last night like Santa Claus down the chimney and put this in your Bible. It's always been there. The reason you're surprised is you're not reading your Bible, you're listening to the church world preachers reading their study Bibles and their commentaries. For it shall come to pass, and this is verse 8, for it shall come to pass, shut up, chief, in that day, saith Jehovah of armies, it doesn't mean hosts, it means armies, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck and will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him, speaking of Israel. That's the UN and those countries. Okay, strangers, the word is 2114, Strong's number, it's pronounced Sa'ur. Stranger, let's see what Strong's calls the word. No, chief. turn aside a foreigner. It means the foreigners, the foreign nations. Okay? God put Israel in a 2,000-year punishment. It is in your Bible. I don't hear this preached by any church-oriented preachers either. Hosea 6, 1 and 2. Come and let us return unto Jehovah, for he hath torn, he will heal us. He hath smitten, he will bind us up. That's Israel, not the church. After 2 days, Peter said 1,000 years to the Lord is like a day. So it's not a 48-hour punishment. It's a 2,000-year punishment. After 2 days, will he revive us? That means bring us to life. In the third day, that's the millennium, he will raise us up and we shall live in his sight. Okay? It's over. We're in the year of recompenses now. There's a year of recompenses, a year of redemption, and a day of vengeance. The day of vengeance is annotated with the day of recompenses and the day of the day of redemption. So it's apparently the year of redemption and year of recompenses. So apparently it's the same year. And we're in it. Look around you. Look what's going on. What do you think's going on? The continuing whirlwind of the Lord is falling on the head of the wicked. You don't see it? The whirlwind word means a storm or a tempest, like Hurricane Hillary, for instance. And there was flooding in the deserts of Mecca yesterday. Jeremiah 30, verse 23. Behold, the whirlwind of Jehovah goeth forth with fury. What's the word for fury? Chama in Hebrew. It's Strong's number 2534. Heat. Have you noticed a heat wave? Here it is on a silver platter. Either you're going to receive the word of the Lord or you're going to go against it and go side with the Schofield Bible or nonsense like that. It means heat, rage, hot displeasure, indignation, anger, fever, like heat, fever, burning. Okay, like fires. It means burning also. Have you noticed any fires in Greece, Tenerife in the Canary Islands, Canada, Montana, and so forth, huh? Have you noticed any of this? Heat, burning. Strong's gives the first definition as heat, anger, poison from its fever, displeasure. Okay. The word whirlwind is sa'ar. It means a tempest, a storm, or a whirlwind. So it goes forth with heat. So do you have the storms with the floods and the hurricanes and the winds along with the fires? Oh, yeah, we happen to have that. Gee, why aren't the church people telling you this? It shall fall with pain. What's pain? The word is chul. In Hebrew, Strong's number 2342. It means whirl, dance, fear, trembling, travail. Travail like in the day of travail, the birthday. The fierce anger of Jehovah shall not return until he have done it, until he have performed the intents of his heart. In the latter days you shall, it says, consider it. That's not what it really means. Discern it. We're in the latter days, and I'm explaining it to you. You can reject this I'm giving you everything out of the Bible. They're not at the church. Oh, he'll deliver us from the wrath to come, so we're going to leave our clothes behind and go up in the rapture. Four times Yeshua says he's going to raise everybody up on the last day. All that the Father gave him go up on the last day. One day. It's after the millennium. That's the last day. Everybody goes up on the same day. John 6:39, John 6:40, John 6:44, John 6:54. Four times Yeshua said it, and the churches defy him. Pre-trib, mid-trib, post-trib is all a left behind rapture. Each of them, and Yeshua says that's not happening. Everybody goes up in the same day. Maybe you'll be left behind for a few minutes or an hour, but their narrative is false. It contradicts the words of Yeshua. The people in Israel that are believers are waiting for a tribulation. How depressing. They walk around downtrodden, beaten up, bummed out. Why wouldn't they be? They're waiting for a tribulation to come. Oh, the man of sin will come and bring peace and then make a covenant with Israel to allow the sacrifices. Why the heck would the Israelis make a covenant with this schmuck? And then he's going to break it and attack Israel. And if you don't get the mark of the beast, you're going to get your head cut off. And if you do, you're going to go to the lake of fire. So what Israelis are going to be left? Church is pure replacement theology, kids. Let me illustrate to you the crap they teach. That's in direct contradiction to the Bible. And I stood upon, Revelation 13:1, and I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads, 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns. That's the same beast the whore of Babylon rides on. And upon his head the names of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto, so remember, John's standing where? On the sand of the sea, on the beach. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. That's allegorical. And the dragon is Satan, gave him his power and his seat and great authority. So if you want to know where this happens, all you got to do is figure out where Satan's seat is. No church teaches this. Does the Bible tell us where Satan's seat is? As a matter of fact, it does. Where? Well, in Revelation 2, in verse 12. And to the angel of the church in Pergamos. Pergamos is a city near the beach in Cyprus. Cyprus is an island off the coast of the Mediterranean. It's pretty far from Israel. It takes an overnight ferry boat ride to get up there. Write these things, saith he which hath the sharp sword with 2 edges. That's Yeshua. This is what Yeshua is teaching. I know thy works, and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is. Satan's seat's in Pergamos. That's where the beast sets up shop. That's where his temple is, in Pergamos. It's inescapable. I know thy works, and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is, and thou holdest fast my name, and hast not denied my faith, even in those days wherein Antipas was my faithful martyr, who was slain amongst you where Satan dwelleth. Satan dwells where his seat is. He sits down and rules those that listen to him. And that's in Pergamos, which is in Cyprus. Turkey owns a piece of Cyprus called North Cyprus. But moving along, He does not set up shop in Israel. What's wrong with you if you think that? Why are you not reading your Bibles? Jacob's trouble is great, but he will be saved out of it. It's Zechariah 12. Not one Israeli gets a sprained ankle. There's nothing to the birth pangs do not lead to the man of sin with the narrative of the church. It's so stupid. Jeremiah 33, hang on a second. It's, again, if you want to follow me, it's in Jeremiah. We'll go through Jeremiah. Give me a second here. It's Jeremiah 30. See, they're teaching you crap, okay? And it's not me that's teaching you the truth, it's your Bible. The word that came to Jeremiah from Jehovah saying, "Thus speaketh Jehovah Elohim of Israel." Never in the Bible is there one place where it says Jehovah Elohim church, or the glory of the God of the church. It's always Israel. If you're a believer, you're in Israel. Yeshua is a Jew from Judah, Yehudi, Yehudim, Jews. He's a Jew. He's the high priest in the order of Melchizedek. He's the king of Israel. And if you're in Yeshua, he calls you his brethren. How could you be his brethren and not be in Israel? Duh. Don't listen to the church. Listen to your Bible. Thus speaketh Jehovah Elohim Yisrael, saying, "Write thee all the words that I have spoken unto thee in a book. For lo, the days come, saith Jehovah, that I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel." When did the church ever go into captivity? Hasn't. You know, in Pakistan, they're burning the churches and beating the Jews, the church people, the Christians up at freely. Where's the rapture? Where is it? 20 or 21 churches have been burned in recent weeks or days. And they beat the people up. Sometimes the people die in Pakistan. Is Biden saying anything about it? Is Putin saying anything about it? Is China saying anything about it? You probably didn't even know about it till I just told you. For lo, the days come, saith Jehovah, that I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel. Well, that's obviously Israel, not the church. And Judah. Israel's the 10 tribes. Judah's Judah and Levi. Saith Jehovah, and I will cause them to return to the land that I gave their fathers, and they shall possess it. Obviously, Israel. And if you're in Yeshua, you're in Israel, for crying out loud. Now, if your idea of faith and salvation is due to affiliation with a church, boy, you're in bad shape. And these are the words that Jehovah spake concerning Israel and concerning Judah. For thus saith Jehovah, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. Oh, gee, that doesn't sound like the Antichrist bringing peace, does it? The Antichrist is the beast. The apostle said, even now there's many Antichrists among you. The beast is what, they don't even know. They confuse the term Antichrist and beast. It's the beast that the bad dog is. Comes up out of the pit, and when the pit opens, the locusts with stingers like serpents and scorpions come out, and they're not around, are they? Of course not. Ask ye now and see whether a man doth travail with child. Travail is the actual birth process. That's what the word means. Travail with child. Cervix is dilated, the water broke, the baby's crowning. You got it? Whether a man doth travail with child, wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, as a woman giving birth, they clutching their guts and go, ah, you know. And all faces are turned into paleness. They're pale because the blood's rushing to their guts. They're so scared. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, which means Israel, the 12 tribes. But he shall be saved out of it. Does that sound like the Great Tribulation, where they're all saved out of it? The church is teaching you crap. The tribulation comes on the nations down the road quite a few years. For it shall come to pass in that day, saith Jehovah of armies, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck, and will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him. But they shall serve Jehovah Elohim, and David their king, whom I will raise up unto them. Therefore, fear thou not, O my servant Yaakov, saith Jehovah, neither be dismayed, O Israel. For lo, I will save thee from afar, 2nd Exodus, and thy seed from the land of their captivity. And Jacob, or Yaakov, shall return, shall be in rest, and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. Gee, that don't sound like the tribulation of the church to me. For I am with thee, saith Jehovah, to save thee. So if he's with Israel to save Israel, where are you getting this tribulation on Israel from? Though I make a full end of all nations, whither I have scattered thee, yet will I not make a full end of thee, but will correct thee in measurement, will not leave thee altogether unpunished. So guys, what is going to happen is this. America and their allies in NATO are going to fight Russia, Iran, China, North Korea, Venezuela, Cuba, maybe a couple other assorted lunatic nations. And they believe that if they unify together and attack America and NATO and the allies at the same time, they could overwhelm them. Okay, even though they have inferior weapons and stuff like this. All right. And this war is going to go down when the Lord is finished setting the stage. And remember, he's going to destroy all the nations he scattered Israel into, which has got to be probably 100, 150 countries today. They're all going to be annihilated, destroyed. Not everybody's going to get killed, but they are going to have to leave these nations and go into captivity, which is what they did to Israel. That's why the Lord has a controversy with the nations over Zion. They don't want Israel to be raised up. They don't want God to run the nations of the world through Israel. They don't want any of this. They don't want Jehovah to reign over them. Okay? And they're all going to be gone. They're going against Jehovah and Yeshua and his will and his word. Bye-bye. You're going to see billions of people gone off the face of this earth. The year of recompenses probably started about August 1st, somewhere near there, a few days off, one way or the other. Okay? There's going to be billions of people not here, and they're not going up in the rapture. All right? America's going to fight China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea, you know, and with their allies, and they're going to basically win over Iran and China and Russia. Russia's going to be curtains, I'm sure. And then what? America's going to be quite weakened. Ruler fighting ruler is going to happen there, like Civil War type events. The war would definitely bring that on, although it could happen before the war. And that war is detailed in Isaiah 47 and Jeremiah 15:51. And the Israelites are going to leave along with all the believers. They're going to come from all over the world to Israel. They're going to stop in the wilderness, enter into the bond of the covenant, and pass under the rod, and then they'll come into Israel. Just read Ezekiel 20, starting in verse 33, the second Exodus. Also Jeremiah 23, and I believe Jeremiah 16. I think it's 16. Could be near there, like 17 or something. Okay. That's what's going to happen. And the two witnesses are going to be very involved in this. Okay? And the people that are in the church in Maui, what do you think they're thinking? The place burned up to a great extent. What about Tenerife and the Canary Islands? What about in Greece? What about the people that lived where the wildfires in Canada are? What do you think they're thinking? Are they thinking the church is right? Well, when the wars break out, the people are going to realize the church is talking crap. And that's going to be the end of the churches. Who's going to go there anymore? Okay. I don't know who's going to go there anymore. I don't think anybody. Now, what happens after this war? America is going to probably whoop them. And also in this war, many, many nations are going to be involved, and they're going to get brutally messed up. People will leave the country. It'll be that bad. They might leave before the attacks and invasion or after. Many will come to Israel and be happy to work as servants in Israel, or they may be slaves. Read Isaiah 60 to the end of the book. Arise, shine, your light has come, the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. Great darkness has covered the earth and stuff. Read it, it's there. The people bring the Israelites into it, and when you're a believer, a real believer, you're an Israelite too, and they bring them into Israel as an offering unto the Lord. How will they know who they are? Arise, shine, your light has come. Remember Moses shone? They had to cover them with a veil. The veil comes off. Then America is going to get destroyed. By who? My idea of this is by all the Muslim states, all 53, 56 of them, that are doing nothing but laying back and waiting, except Iran. And maybe Syria and a few of them. Most of them are just laying back and waiting, and they're going to get involved. Remember, America is going to be severely weakened, the Civil War and the war with these other nations. Is it possible, and I'm wrong, and China, Iran, and Russia actually be the ones that devastate the United States and North Korea too? Yeah, it could be, but I don't see it that way. It could be, though. Anyway, the United States is gone. During this year that started August 1st, they're going to be gone. Because there's a harvest coming out of the United States, and that has to coincide with the general exodus. Because in Isaiah 47 and Ezekiel 47, it describes to us that after the battle in Zechariah 12 is over and we get Greater Israel back, we divide the land amongst all the people there. And we'll read this starting in Ezekiel 47, verse 21. So shall you divide this land unto you according to the tribes of Israel. And it shall come to pass that you shall divide it by lot, for an inheritance unto you and to the strangers, the foreigners, the non-Israelite born believers, that sojourn among you, which shall beget children among you, and they shall be unto you as born in the country among the children of Israel. They shall have inheritance with you among the tribes of Israel. And it shall come to pass that in what tribe the stranger sojourneth, there you shall give him his inheritance, saith Adonai Jehovah. So the people that are believers and not native-born Israelites are going to come in the second Exodus with the Israelites. And they're going to be treated as native-born Israelites, grafted into the tribe they journeyed with, and receive a piece of land for free, of course, as their inheritance. That's the reality of this thing that's going to happen. That's it. And they have to get out of the daughter of Babylon before the big attack, because no one survives the big attack. And you see the foreigners that are working in America, like the Central South American people working the land, the planting and the harvesting the crops, the Afghani taxi driver and so forth. They'll go home to their own country for fear of the sword. It says it. This is the true gospel. This is the Bible. Straight and narrow is the way, and few be that find it. Not many come in here. I don't have 350 in the chat or any crazy number like that. Okay? I don't have that. There's few. Broad and wide is the road to destruction, and many find it. People in the church are going to basically freak out when the war starts. They're not going to know what hit them. And that is no time to try to pick up the pieces and get your doctrine straight. It would be the best thing they could do, but it's not going to give you a lot of time. These Muslim nations around the world are going to do something against America. They hate America. They hate America. Okay? So what happened today? Oh, Chile's got, what did they get? Fires of flood. Give me a second. floods, Santiago, Chile. I think that's the capital of Chile. I've been there. Floods. Santiago, Chile. I'll give you a rundown of what's going on. It's unbelievable. Flood in Death Valley, America, from Hillary. Spain, Canary Islands on fire. Chechen President Kadyrov says after we are victorious in Ukraine, he's helping Russia, we will go to those countries that have insulted the Quran. Anyway. Forest Falls, California. It's all on my Telegram. The U.S. Embassy at Minsk urges American citizens in Belarus to leave the country immediately. Preparations for a possible military operation against the rebels who carried out a coup d'etat in Niger are observed at the military airfields of the ECOWAS member states. Yeah, they're going to hit Niger. Will be another war. Australia's biggest warship deployed to the Philippines for drills. Flash flood in Mecca, Saudi Arabia, in the desert. He's watering the desert. Saudi Arabia is part of Greater Israel. The Wagner guy is in Africa calling people to sign up, the mercenary group. Greece, the sky is filled with smoke from fire. Argentina, wildfires. The continuing whirlwind of the Lord, heat. Wake up, come on, get with the Bible. Greece, fire's out of control for days now. All from my Telegram. U.S. convoy military equipment in Syria. More than 12,600 Americans were hospitalized with COVID-19 last week, increase of 22% from the week before, according to BNO News. There's protesters clashing with the Bashar Assad Syrian government too, so he's getting a kind of ruler fighting ruler thing. Chinese submarine had an accident somewhere in the Pacific. I don't know. I'm not going to dwell on that. Great Navy they have, huh? Ukrainian kamikaze drones are attacking again in Moscow. It's practically every day. The citizens of Russia have to be going out of their minds by now. They don't know what to do. U.S. convoys of military and equipment in Erbil, Iraq. Poland has got its request granted by America to buy 96 Apache attack helicopters for $12 billion. In Israel, they permit to have a protest demonstration by left-wing women in Israel in Bnei Brak, the ultra-Orthodox neighborhood near Tel Aviv, has been approved. The ultra-Orthodox are going to have a lot of trouble with the rest of Israel. It's a mistake they're making. The world's about to learn who Jehovah is, and not that many are going to survive that education. Saudi border guards killed hundreds of Ethiopian migrants. Bezalel Smotrich, the economy minister in Israel, is rushing through a plan to expand the West Bank settlements as sort of retaliation for the terrorism. America will get mad about that. The BRICS people are starting to trade amongst themselves using their own currency, not the US dollar. Let me tell you, America is not going to put up with the BRICS thing either. France had record-breaking temperatures, and temperatures are expected to hit 40 to 42 degrees Celsius in the Rhone Valley. Forest fires and the heat wave warnings are in place in France. Continuing whirlwind of the Lord, storm, heat, fire. There's Christians in Pakistan that are homeless too. We're having riots around Gaza City. The number of wounded at the site, I think they're killing each other or hurting each other. Australia is possibly going to buy 200 Tomahawk missiles from America. It's to use them in China, I would say. Argentina again with the fires. Okay, you can see the world, you could say it's going crazy, but it's Jehovah fulfilling prophecy. Okay? That's really what this is. The safest place to be is Israel, but it doesn't look that way, and that's on purpose. And it's not safe for the unbelievers, just the believers and the Israelites who will become believers, those that make it. 2/3 will be cut off. All right, I guess we've been on a while, so I hope you got something out of this. I'm Moshe, my wife is Rivka. Please pray for our peace, safety, protection, joy, healing of our bodies. Pray for my wife's new business, which seems to be going well with the patches. And pray for our animals and pets to be happy, healthy, and whole and not run away or fight amongst themselves. And they're all rescues. The new bird's doing great. He's a panic. He's so much fun. He came over to me and tried to pull the stone out of my ring last night. I didn't put up with that. And then he just kept flying around from my wife to me, walking on one of us walking on the other. He's really a nice bird. He was a rescue. He was being abused, and they took the bird away from him. And since my wife has a rescue for parrots up here, he's really thriving. He's really a good bird. He's a lot of fun. He's really a good guy. He's not a nasty cockatoo. He's a little cockatoo. Really nice bird. Nice bird. He loves being here. He loves it. So pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for better videos. Pray for us. Pray for our finances. We need help there. And I'll keep you guys posted. And stay subscribed. And I'm out.